whoa, look at that, the last full moon of the year. Isn't that lovely? So I thought that it was a good opportunity for me to just quickly get a beautiful backdrop or a little video that's been playing on my mind. So as some of you will know, on a Tuesday I've often been doing Journeys with Jane, which is just discussing some kind of life principle which I learnt from this wonderful friend of mine called Jane, which I think can benefit people in some way or another. And there's a very obvious one which occurred to me today, which is the idea of stop, look, correct. So Jane used to say it's quite useful to think of us traveling through life a little bit like a pilot who's lost their navigation system. So instead of going from A to B in an absolutely perfect line, the pilot now could go completely off course and wind up absolutely nowhere near where she or he might want to be. And of course, if there is a navigation system, it's easy because they just trace that line perfectly. But Jane would say that in life often our navigation system is not quite so easy, and so the way to do it is as you go through life, stop, look where you are, and correct where you're going. So if you're supposed to go from there to there, but you've actually gone from there, stopping, looking where I am, oh, I'm off the line a little bit, and correcting, stop, look, oh, and correct, and you eventually get where you want to go by a constant process of stop, look, correct. And the reason that it has occurred to me is because something which has upset me tremendously in the pandemic is how many people have seemed to go on exactly the same course throughout the entire thing. Because there are a number of things that we can be quite clear of so far. The one thing is it's not the flu. Okay, so it's very tempting to say, oh yeah, it's the flu. That was what people wanted to say months ago. But demonstrably, that can be thrown out the window immediately because the death toll far outstrips by several factors even the worst flu seasons. As I understand it, 650,000 is the typical highest death toll that the flu will produce in a year, and we've already virtually tripled that this year with extreme measures. So it's not the flu. Equally, it's not the Spanish flu, which killed this enormous percentage of the world's population, obviously. So the term Spanish flu is problematic in and of itself. It sort of suggests that Spain was responsible. And as I understand it, that's not the case. The reason that it was called the Spanish flu is that the Spanish actually kept better records at the time. And so the data came out from this, hence the Spanish flu. But anyway, sorry, that's a bit of a sidetrack. So we clearly know it's not the awful tens of millions of people dying that was initially predicted either. It's something in between. So initially we're sort of going off on that, like, no, stop, look, correct, it's not the flu. No, stop, look, it's not the Spanish flu. It's somewhere in between. So we've got some kind of appropriate measure that we can take. Now that's in terms of the pandemic. So suddenly we're left with some general commonsensical ideas like, yes, it makes sense to avoid crowds. It makes sense to sanitize. It makes sense to wear masks, etc. But the idea is that kind of principle should be carried throughout life. So instead of going along constantly saying, well, I've got to do this or this or this, and I'm always heading in this direction, stop, look, correct, and say, is this actually serving me? Is that opinion which I'm holding a useful one, or is it not a useful one? So I think that's really important. Otherwise we get stuck in these kind of ideologies of what we need to believe, and it's impossible for us to grade or temper our response in a way which makes us more adaptive. And it's really kind of freaked me out the huge extent to which people across all sorts of walks and lives and political spectra, etc., have seemed to lack that capacity. No, my babies, don't do that. You are very, very sweet, though. Yes, hello, won't you? Oh, stop, look, correct. Hello, my queen. Hello, my queen. Oh, stop, look. That's so gorgeous. Stop, look, correct. Okay, everyone, sorry. Hopefully that gives you some kind of lovely idea. And let's hopefully bid some of the nightmare of 2020 goodbye before too long, as we also bid the last moon of the year a fond farewell as well. Last full moon, I mean. Okay, goodbye everyone. Stop, look, correct.